Hey fam, we are live again. Welcome back to my channel. How is everybody doing? I'm sure all of you are fine just the way I am. Welcome to today's live stream. As you must have seen the title and as you must have anticipated, it's going to be an interesting conversation. I can already see the comments here. Someone said it's going to be interesting. Sure. Eagerly awaited, sister. Yes. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. Should be interesting. Yes, it should. And it would. So welcome everybody. Welcome. As you come in, click the like button. Let's have the likes up and share this stream. Like I always say, share it. So I remember the other day I was asking you how I was going to share my live stream to Facebook. I realized that because of the version I'm using, I'm still using the free I'm on free mode, so I can't share to Facebook the way I wanted to. I have to pay $200 apparently, so that's why I couldn't share that day. But hopefully I'm able to make some money so I can pay for that. Thank you all so much for coming back. So the topic today is very interesting. It's something that I think we all need to have a conversation about, regardless of where you are. If you're an African in the diaspora, an African American, or an African on the continent, it's a conversation we all need to have. It's much needed, okay? The Diaspora channel, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Hilton Harrison, thank you for coming. Welcome, Citron. Oh, I struggle to pronounce this name. I don't want to get it wrong. Citrenoget. Hope I tried. Thank you. You're welcome. PG Rated, you're welcome. Derek Alex, you're welcome. Zay Beats, you're welcome. Thank you so much. A Collins, you're welcome. Just Kwame Olatunji, you're welcome. Agbanuke Ewe channel, you're welcome. Yeah, she says, yeah, I'm here to learn. Sure, we're all learning. So Ayina Oga on the fire, welcome, my brother. Thank you so much for coming. Papa Hemp, aka Abe Nemesis, you're welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. Yeah, I've welcomed all of you so far, so you're welcome. Thank you. A fellow says, hi Grace, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Is colorism in Africa an issue like it is in America? Oh wow, you see, an interesting topic. That's probably going to be a topic for next week. So let me write that down. We're going to have that conversation next week. But for today, sorry, excuse me, I'm trying to write down that topic so I don't forget. So we are trying to see how we can decolonize our minds, you know, as Africans. We had colonial experience in Africa, which has left us with a lot of issues to deal with, you know, socio-economic issues to deal with, and sometimes even political. Okay, Citron says, come in citrus. Okay, citrus, that's fair enough. So like I was saying, colonialism has left us with a lot of issues to deal with, you know, socioeconomic, obviously, and sometimes political. So we find this in the way Africans, in our attitude as Africans, and our lifestyles, and just anything and everything around us. We find this colonial mentality interfering, and it's just has gotten to a point where it's important we have conversations about it and see how we can address this mentality and hopefully begin the process of changing it. You find people who increasingly think that our own African cultures or our own African way of life is inferior compared to the West. So there's this increasing need for people to conform in order for them to find validation. And talking about this just brings to mind what the story I've been reporting on about what you call him, hush puppy. You know, the need to pursue Western lifestyle, Western material things. I saw the comments that some of you have dropped on the video that he stole from the white people and gave back to them, you know, just buying designer clothes, just spending unnecessarily. Meanwhile, we have our own African clothing, you know, our own way of dressing that's still beautiful, but people probably not spend on African things, but they'll prefer to go spend lavishly on Western materials and all of that. So the need, you know, even our women here, the need for them to dress a certain way to conform to Eurocentric standards of beauty in order for them to feel beautiful, to feel, you know, find validation, and also a lot of this. You see people even go to the extent of trying to change their skin colors because we feel like black is not beautiful enough, you know. So that's the conversation we need to have today. How can we address this colonial mentality? How? If you want to come up on the show, let me drop the link in the chat room so that you can click on it. I like the fact that you, my vert loves, are very supportive, very responsible people. I love all of you so much. When I drop the link here, you don't abuse it. A lot of YouTubers don't do that. They ask you to send an email before they send you privately, but I do that here knowing that we are going to use the link responsibly, and you have not disappointed anyone. So thank you so much for that. I've dropped the link again. If you have any conversation to make, please just click on the link and join. And a lot of you have been asking me about a link where you can send support to me, support the work I do. So finally set up that. That's the good news. I finally set up that payment platform. I've set it up on PayPal. So I'm going to drop the PayPal email account. So for those of you who want to send you know, some money to support me, you can just click on it and you'll make your donation. So here we go. Virtual Grace Blog at gmail.com. So that's the PayPal email. Once you click on that, you can make the donations that you want to make to my channel. Money makes women happy all over the world. Brother man 7, that's not really it, because I've been on it, you know. I appreciate the support that all of you give me. Trust me, just watching my videos, letting the ads play, and then dropping comments, that's a lot, and I do not take that for granted. A lot of you have gone the extra mile of asking for a link where you can make donations to me, and that's so generous and kind of you. So I created this PayPal so that I can provide that information on that platform for you to support me as you want to. And that's the email on the screen. Yeah, so I appreciate you all so much. Yeah, so back to our conversation. Back to our conversation of how we can address this colonial mentality in us Africans. Someone dropped a comment. Someone said we need to have a cultural. Let me read that. Oh my God, that It starts with self-respect and self-love. Learning through African history will raise self-esteem. I agree with you totally. Self-respect, self-love. I think self-love is something that we need to emphasize. We need to emphasize self-love. You know, just loving yourself just the way you are, not having the need to alter who and how you are, how you were created, in order for you to conform to certain set standards, in order for you to find validation. Just loving yourself the way you are, it starts from there. And of course, learning African history. I like the emphasis here. She says, through African history we raise self-esteem, because more oftentimes the problem stems from the fact that our cultures have been portrayed to be bad, to be evil, to be less worthy. So a lot of people find it something despicable, and they make efforts to dissociate themselves from their true cultural expressions or history. And that's because a lot of people do not even know the true history of Africans, how that Africans were before now. We still are, but our forebears, our ancestors were wealthy people, were people with economic strength. They were people who had excellent leadership skills and just administered justice, ruled in their kingdoms and all of that in the way that is most commendable. But all of these lofty achievements and informations have been hidden away from us for centuries. So we need to have a reorientation and to learn. I like what she said, to learn our true African history. That's very important. Citrus also said the African mind needs to be subjected to a cultural revolution. Exactly. Totally agree. And I think that that starts from learning our true African history. Like, and she said earlier, learning our true African history. I mean, it's just empowering for me, even for me as a person, when I read and discover new information about our African cultures, what our ancestors did before now. I find it so empowering. It has a way of boosting my self-esteem and confidence in who I am as an African, without having to necessarily confirm. I mean, it's so serious, guys. And for us here in Nigeria, I don't know about how it goes in other countries, but for us here in Nigeria, it's so serious. And please, as you come in, forget to click the subscribe button. Don't, oh my god, I said forget. Oh, don't forget. As you come in, don't forget to click the subscribe button. And when you click it, that's if you've not subscribed already, click that subscribe button. It's very important. And then when you click it, click the bell. That bell, when you click on it, you'll be notified each time I upload new videos or I go live like I am now. And share this stream, share it on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Just share so that we can have more people come in and have diverse opinions and perspective. Okay, it's very important. And like I said, if you want to come up on the show, I've dropped the link. I'm dropping it again. Click on the link and join me here. Let's have this conversation. How can we address this colonial mindset of Africans? We need a change. How can we start? That's the conversation we'll be having. So someone said it. I'm trying to read a comment that somebody dropped. Hi, Grace. To the judicial topic, we had a body of elders from each side. They prevented unfairness. Exactly. Don't know if you have the same in Nigeria. Yes, we do. So traditional African societies, we had like council of elders who would come together to preside over matters and to administer justice. And these elders were members of various households and kindreds that came together in agreement, in the spirit of kinsmanship, to administer justice in their communities. And this was done in a most open and fair manner. Matters were brought to the knowledge of elders in public, and the matters were presided over. They preside over the matters, and consult amongst themselves and reach final decisions, and verdicts will be passed. That's exactly how traditional African societies operated. And I'm telling you, Africa was an organized continent way before the colonial invaders came. Africa was well organized. We had traditional education. Someone has dropped a comment here. Education. We had traditional education that was meant to equip people to be functional in society, highly loaded with moral values and standards that people had to adhere to. But when the colonial masters came, they tried to alter our history, and then they started trying to rewrite the narrative and portray Africa as this dark continent that had nothing going for them before they came. But that's not true. So we can find validation in the way that our people, our African cultures and societies operated before the Europeans came. Very beautiful cultures and societies. So learning our culture, learning our history, our true African history, I like that, will be very important. Tell our children that they are beautiful and that their hair is strong. Yeah, I like that as well. Tell our children they are beautiful and that their hair is strong. Exactly. I saw a video today on social media that just broke my heart. A little black boy was having a conversation with his mom, and his request broke my heart. He asked his mom to make him white. That, mommy, can you make me white? And the mom asked why. Eventually she found that some of his schoolmates were making, throwing comments at him, making him feel like black wasn't good enough. And also, it's important to tell our children, to teach them to understand that they are beautiful just the way they are. And I like what the mom did in the video. The mom took time to talk to the boy and to encourage him, to just boost his self-esteem, that he is handsome, he's beautiful just the way he is, and there's nothing that he can do about it. He can't change it, so he should embrace who he is. And at the end of the day, the boy left. The video ended. I saw him. He was more cheerful and more happy. So that's the kind of work we need to do. And our hair is. That brings me to the next aspect of this colonial mentality. Thank you so much, Kim Hill, for this comment. And that the question of hair comes in very relevant as well. So here in Nigeria, there has been this craze for colonial hairs. You have weaves that women spend a lot of money buying weaves. Brazilian hair, Peruvian hair, Mongolian hair, American hair, just name it, all sort of hairs. Very expensive. Monies that they would use to start businesses and get something going for them, they would spend on hair. And some will go to the extent they cannot afford to buy the hair, but they will go to every extent to make money to buy those hairs. So that was one of the issues in the other video I uploaded about the South African lady who was dancing for some Nigerian guys. So some of the comments that some South Africans were posting on social media was that these South African ladies go after Nigerian men and do all sort of unthinkable things just to get money so that they can buy iPhones or buy expensive hair and look big. So the tag is big girl, so that you can appear to be a big girl by wearing all of that. So that's what we need to address, to understand that our hair is beautiful just the way it is. We don't have to necessarily wear all of those things to find validation. The truth is, for me, Grace, as I speak with you, I don't try to seek validation from people. I'm just confident and grateful to be who I am, and it's easier for me. It's easier being myself than trying to be someone else. And that's what I try to say all the time. Okay, someone is dropping a comment. Sorry, when I pause, it's just so that I can read some of your comments. Okay, I think I should just hold on and read your comments before I go on talking all and on and on. Europeans learn the history of Europe. Let me post this. I'll be posting it downwards. So Europeans learn the history of Europe. Asians learn to the history of Asia, but Africans learn the history of Europe instead of learning the history of Africa. 100%. You go to school, they are teaching you histories of Americans, histories of other parts of the world. For Nigeria, I can say that there's some efforts are put in that aspect to teach us Nigerian history, African history. But I feel strongly like we can do more, we can do more, emphasize. There's a video I shot today. I'm yet to edit it and upload it, but I found that a lot of the information I used in that video is contained in a book that was written by one of our founding fathers, with very useful information that are timely now. So when we go back, we learn our history. It empowers us even to deal with present challenges that come with living in this contemporary world. So I agree with you 100%. Let's learn our African history and emphasize that. Someone said, they didn't try. They did rewrite history, destroyed records that our people had. Yes, they did. They did. The other video I talked about the artifacts that the British looted from Nigeria and other parts of Africa when they colonized, they invaded and all. So they did a lot of things. They destroyed a lot of history. Like I said, our ancestors had civilized systems of education and all of that even before these people came. But they tried to destroy and rewrite our history. So yeah, I agree with you. Thank you all for coming. Share this stream. Let's have more people coming. And if you've not subscribed, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell right beside it. Also share everywhere. Share everywhere. Let's have more people coming. We can get to 100, at least 100 viewing. So share. Let's have people. Thanks, Grace, listening from UK. Thank you, Jenny Smith. I said if you want to come up on the show, just click on the link that I've dropped in the comment section and you'll be live here with me. There was a re-education. Yes, there was a re-education, the colonial education that was introduced. And they did that not because they wanted our own good or to advance the cause of Africans. They brought in their education just so that our people could acquire the skills that they needed them to acquire in order to serve in their colonial administration. So we had things like basic grammar. Those were the things that formed the colonial curriculum when they came to Africa. Basic grammar, basic arithmetic, just so that they could function in their colonial administrations as secretaries, as clerks, and all of that. Not necessarily empowering Africans to believe in themselves or to continue to be who they were before they invaded. And so I agree with you, and that's why even the colonial education is still very much prevalent in Africa today, even though the colonial masters left years ago. Colonial education is still pervasive in Africa. That's why we also need to change that, include more of African aspects of African civilization in our curriculums. Africa is the birthplace of everything from organized civilian to mad. Hello from Memphis, Tennessee, USA. Thank you so much. That's true. Africa is the cradle of civilization. Civilization started from Africa. I also believe we need to be speaking our own languages in our nations. Why are we loving European and Asian languages more than our own? Yeah, that's 100%. I agree with you. So here in Nigeria, what happens is in schools, in secondary schools, it's Nigerian languages, the three major Nigerian languages, which are Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, are included in the curriculum. So you have to take at least one of the languages and learn them before you leave school. So some of us did that in schools, but there's only just little that we can learn in school. So efforts can be made, even right from the home. I always go back to the home. it has to start from home. A lot of African parents do not speak African languages to their children. So I am thief, for instance. You find some thief parents who would rather speak English to their children instead of speaking thief language to them, you know. And there's this feeling that English language is more prestigious. English language is more civilized, so children should learn how to speak English. And it's not just, I'm giving an example, it's something that happens in many African homes. People who feel like uh, English is more civilized, like I was saying. So we need to go back to teach our children our languages so that they can learn to speak. And there's something we need to understand. When you learn your own language, you are able to interact with the world better, more effectively, because we perceive the world from uh, who we are. How do I put this more effectively? We perceive and interact with the world based on our worldview. As for instance, as thief people, as a thief person, my perception and interaction with the world is based on our worldview as thief people. Those codes of acceptable and unacceptable behaviors culturally that have been imbibed in me, those are the things that translate into the way I interact with the world. So no matter the English language I learn or speak, innately I am a thief person, and that's how I'm going to interact with the world in a way that is most impactful and positive. So it's important to teach our children our languages. No shame in it. Welcome, Okuje. Hope I pronounced it right.
You pronounced it right, yeah.
All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Virtue Grace. And I just want to commend you for all the great work you've been doing. I've been
Thank
watching
you.
you, keeping tabs on you from very far. And your work is very inspiring, very
Thank you.
empowering.
Thank you.
And on the subject of decolonizing the African mind, dismantling, the colonial system. For some reason, uh, year after year, we celebrate Independence Day. And I always wondered and asked myself, exactly what does that mean? The fact that we have our own flag and some currency, and then that's where it stops. Uh, the main vestiges of colonialism are the religious systems which invaded Africa. Um, Main vestiges of colonialism are the educational systems which were introduced and imposed on our people, all in a so-called attempt to civilize the African. And until we get back to establishing ourselves in our true African identity, we will always be second best. We will always be inferior. I love the fact that we have a lot of independent African churches that are no longer congregations of the colonial church systems that came into Africa. I love that fact. I love the fact that more and more people are beginning to rediscover their own African spirituality. I love that fact. It's great. It's a great thing. But we must begin to challenge our politicians, begin to challenge our policy makers, begin to question the philosophies of certain institutions in our environment as to what their goal is. Are we trying to make the African a European version of a black person? Or do we really want the African to become the African that we are? This is where, between Africans on the homeland and Africans in the diaspora, particularly in the West, where we have a difference. The African in the colony is raised to believe that when I speak as well as the white man in the white man's language, then I become as good as the white man. When my language is very proper, my grammar is good, then I can gain acceptance. So in the colonies, we have this mentality that the brightest people amongst us are those who speak exactly like the white man, are those who do things exactly like the white man. We have this mentality that we can only be as good as the white man. We also seek and desire affirmation, approval, validation from white people. If a black person endorses another African, we don't nearly celebrate that endorsement as much as we will have the Queen of England call a black person and make them a member of the British Empire. And they wear the title MBE with glee. I'm like, huh? Really? Seriously? I mean, we don't nearly celebrate and embrace the fact that our people on their own achieve great things, but when they go out there and achieve it in the name of France, we celebrate it even much more than they achieve it, say, in the name of Cameroon. So black excellence must be approved by Europeans. That is the colonial mindset, the colonial mentality. Even theology, when it comes to the things of God. Okay? We have all these beautiful, fancy terms coined by so-called European scholars who impose it on God, on Africans, and we say that God is infinite, yet they come with a finite definition of what and who God is like, and say anything else than what they brought is not God. How about that? You know, meanwhile, we know in our African languages that nobody teaches a child about God. See, so these are just some of the things. Now, when you compare the African in Africa to the African who grew up in the plantations, there is a different mentality in the Africans who grew up in the plantation than those of us who grew up and was raised in the homeland. The mentality in the plantation is that in order for a black person to gain acceptance, you don't need the approval and the validation and affirmation of white people. You need to be twice as good as they are. You need to be better than them 2 times. You must be so good you cannot be ignored. That's how you earn your due in the West. But in Africa, we don't have that mentality. We say we want to be only as good as they are, and then they can endorse us, they can validate us, they can affirm us, they can approve us. So when we meet with our brethren on the other side of the Atlantic, there is always this tension because we are still looking for validation, affirmation from these people, and they don't. Most of them don't. They rather want to prove by dint of hard work that we can do twice as better as you are. And that is where we sometimes have a disconnect in the black family. And until we liberate our minds and emancipate our minds, until we break the yoke of religion, until we break, religion has made us second class to the Arabians, whether you are Muslim. Religion has made us second class to the European, whether you are Christian. Religion will make us second class to the Indian if you are Hindu or whatever Buddhist or whatever it is you practice, until you embrace your own. I will drop my point right there.
All right. Thank you so much, my brother. Every point you've made is valid, and I agree with you 100%. So let's hear you, Roshan. Hope I got your name right. Roshan.
Roshin.
Roshan. Okay. Welcome,
Roshin.
Roshan. Let's have your contribution.
Welcome. Greetings from Jamaica. Well, the brother pretty much touched on everything that I'd like to speak on as well, but it all boils down to education, as we all know that though, like for example, here in Jamaica, our school curriculum is controlled by England, literally, right? So, for example, here in Jamaica, I didn't learn anything about my African culture or history, nothing at all, from primary school to high school to even university, right? It was left to me as an individual to go and seek that information. Luckily enough, you have the Rastafari community and a lot of elders that helped me along the way. What I'm saying, it boils down to, at first, it boils down to the individual. It boils down to the individual. You have to first try and seek the information and find it for yourself. Luckily, we have the internet and all them kind of things there for help you as well. But as what the brother was saying earlier, we need to challenge these educational institutions and these politicians, because they're complicit with allowing this watered down education to be taught in schools, which is where the problem lies.
All right. Thank you. Floor is here. So let's have your take. So when you finish speaking, I mute your microphone so that the next person can talk. Yeah, Floor, you have the
Okay.
floor. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Well, about decolonizing people, I don't know, because I think that, to be very, very honest, charity begins at home. Like the Bible says, charity is love. Your parents are the first people to educate you before you go into the educational system. To be very honest, it's your parents who teach you how to read before you go to school. It's your parents who tell you the history of their people before you get to school. You understand? So to me, really, am I a coconut or am I not a coconut? Because that's what you call somebody who's completely, colonized. It's a coconut. You're black on the outside, but you're white on the inside. There's too much enmity between Africans due to the fact that it is the white people, the colonials, who came to so-called Africa, because that's not the real name of the continent. Before white people got there, Africa is actually called Alkebulan. That's the real name of Africa. I was taught this by my parents. It's Alkebulan. So you are actually Alkebulani, because Africa was all one continent. We just had different tribes within it. It's Alkebulani, and Alkebulan actually means the mother of mankind or the Garden of Eden. That's what it means. That is the authentic name for Africa that you cite today. And a lot of people don't know that. My country's name was changed to Gabon, but it meant by the Portuguese, but it meant actually the Gold Coast. Gabon is a very small country with 2 million population, if that, 69 different tribes. The history of Nigeria too was the same thing. It was vast open, three main tribes in it, which were the Igbo, the Yorubas, and what is it? Okay. Yorubas were known for their education, their love of education, their love of the arts. That was the one distinctive things about Yorubas. The Igbos were actually the industrialists of Nigeria at the time before the colonials came and after the colonials came. So, and the Northerners were also known to reject any form of education completely because they favored Islamic, upbringing for their children, i.e. from the time you're 5 years old, they send you out there in the world to start basically working. That was that. Some colonial people will say that's child abuse. If I say that's child abuse, it's not because I have a colonial mindset. It's because I have seen a 5-year-old. I've looked at a 5-year-old. I'm somebody's potential mother. Would I send my child to a field or to the market to go and earn money for me? No, I wouldn't, because I'm a responsible adult. What can a 5-year-old do for me? You understand? That I can't do. I have 3 times the strength of a 5-year-old to earn money. So you talk about decolonization. There are some people who come here and blend in. What my father actually told me when I was growing up, he said to me the words of Albert Einstein. Einstein said that you must always ask questions. Even if your parent tells you that the sky is blue, you must have the guts and the audacity to ask your parents, is that color truly blue? Because how do you know it's really blue? What makes it blue? What says that it's blue because you were thought it was blue, or is it blue because it actually is blue? You see what I mean? So sometimes don't let your eyes deceive you. It's just simple and short. Already the Nigerian history between the 3 tribes, Igbo, Yorubas, and the Northerners, is due to the fact that when the British came in there, the British decided to create a divide between those 3 tribes, because those 3 tribes were actually getting on together quite well until the British saw that they were not getting an advantage if these people were unified, but they would get a better advantage if they were divided. That's what people don't know and don't understand about the Biafran War and the problem between Yakubu Gowon and, Ojukwu. That was the thing. But Ojukwu was not the sellout. He wanted to have a single state within Nigeria when the colonials would go back home. That's what he wanted to have. But Yakubu, who was a sellout, was the one who it would not happen, that would remain one and one only. Even when you speak to an authentic Yoruba person, they will tell you that I'm not Yoruba, I'm from the nation of Yoruba. That in itself means a lot. I am lucky because I come from a background whereby my ancestors before me kept written Bibles. That's what they call them, family Bibles, where you write the history of what has happened. You know, even before they learned the white man's language, it was written in our tongue. Now, I'm partially Nigerian, but I'm Gabonese. But most of the times when people ask me, because I don't like to explain the complexities of my mélange, I prefer to tell them that I'm Gabonese, because I've spent most of my time being raised in Gabon. You understand? But I recognize the fact that I have Nigerian ancestors from rivers. I do. I also have ancestors from Congo. I do. But my father was the first one who taught me that we were the first African country to recognize Biafra. Oh, God. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead. I can hear you. No. Okay. Welcome the Diaspora channel. Floor, you have the floor. You can keep speaking. Oh, I've lost her. Okay, welcome to the channel, to the show. The Diaspora channel. You're welcome. Thank you for coming up. Good to have you. So let's have your contribution.
You're so welcome, Grace, and hi everyone in the chat. The topic is a very, very interesting one, and what I want to say first, most of the people earlier, they highlight a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I think the parents, when it comes to parents, they have a major responsibility when it comes to the part they can play to undo certain things, because like most of us, we know already that the curriculum is not something that, the teachers we see in front of us, they are in control of. So is from the top, whatever they, they told them, you need to teach them this, teach them that. That's exactly what they are doing. So now I know most of people are saying, okay, the educational system, that has to be fixed, which is, 100% a valid point. But when would that happen? That's the first question. So parents at home have a responsibility to teach their children. Apart from that, we know that our media also is not doing any good job when it comes to, young boys or young girls embracing themselves. So most of the people that they will see, they see on social media, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, are all about, the brand. Wearing Gucci, wearing Prada, wearing this, wearing that. So that does not help either. So if you are out there and you are a celebrity, or you know that, you have young boys, young girls looking up to you, I'm not saying throw, your Pradas and your Guccis, but at least let there be a balance to start with. So they will understand that it's okay to wear what I'm wearing. Is just as good as any other material out there. Because my main concern is, we know now, like, we start coming together, when it comes to our global Black family, and people are willing, to come on the continent and invest and create jobs. But if we still have in mind that anything that comes from a Black person is not good enough, what will happen to those brothers and sisters that want to go there and invest, for example? So, we have a long way to go, but it's doable. So parents have to work with, people like yourself, other people out there also that start hammering this, the fact that, our clothes are good enough. Whatever material you want to use for your hair is good enough. It's not supposed to be necessarily Peruvian, all kind of craziness type of, hair you need to, to be somebody. Your Kenro is good enough. The synthetic hair is good enough. You can use even that money that you're going to say, oh, let me just buy this Peruvian or this Indian or this whatever hair. You can use that and invest in something for yourself. So that is for the young, girls watching at the moment, or that watch later. You are enough. You are beautiful. So that's all I have to say, Grace, and keep doing what you are doing. And thanks for having me.
Oh, okay. It seems like she has dropped. Thank you so much. Valid contributions. Africa, you're welcome. Africa Luti, you're welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. Let's have your own contribution. Before you start, kindly give the stream thumbs up, please. Let's get the thumbs up there, and share this stream, share to social media. Let's have more people coming. And if you have not subscribed, if you're coming here for the first time, remember to click the subscribe button and the bell beside it. That way you'll be notified each time I upload new videos or do a live stream like this. Okay, thank you all so much. Yeah, so let's have you speak, Africa Luti. I love your smile, by the way. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. It's my first time on the show. Actually, I've never been in one of these. Thank you for the compliment. But yeah, the question about colonialism. We try to incorporate our African traditions. I'm based in South Africa, and I'm trying to make this a more practical, like on a day-to-day experience. We have people who, like, when they're getting married, they pay lobola. We have, like, I'm from a village called Nanako in the Eastern Cape, and we have this process called initiation, or when you transition from becoming a young child into a man, and it involves circumcision. And it is a part of our culture that is practiced widely. But I think there is some resistance, particularly now in 2020, because there are some instances where young boys they do die in the process, and we ask the question, well, okay, we want this cultural practice to remain, but if people are going to suffer in the process, what good is it? So yes.
I'm sorry, Africa Lucy, sorry for interrupting you, just a second. So the speaker we just had here, the Diaspora channel, she's also a YouTube creator, so please check her live her channel. Once we are done from here, go check her channel and support her as well. I love for us to support our brothers and sisters who are doing amazing work, so please do that as soon as the stream is over. Okay, all right, so let's have you.
So we try to incorporate our traditions in a modern way, and it's not easy because it seems like sometimes they don't align with the standard, because the standard is life. We want people to be healthy, we want people to be well, but when this practice of initiation is carried out, it isn't done in a healthy manner. And another thing is labola. That's widely practiced. There are no issues there, but we do practice our traditions in a modern way, that I can say. So the cultural decolonizing our mind. I can say Africa is on a journey on finding its identity, if I can say that. We still have a lot of these colonial elements, but I think it's a journey, and we're not there yet, but I think we are making progress. Some of you, I'd like to thank all the previous speakers, because they mentioned a lot of the points that I probably would have mentioned on, especially when it comes to the education system. It is not our own. It is still very foreign. When it comes to religion, I don't know. Here, people are free to worship any god they want, but some of these gods, they are not gods we used to worship. I can put it that way. Like my uncle, he talked to his ancestors. I'm personally not someone who's very spiritual. But yes, previous speakers have touched on every aspect. But my one worry now is an Africa that is trending towards the material. And we speak about Ubuntu, we speak about West Africa, but I think that's still a very far thing when you think about it. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done before we can get to the ideal, what we say we want. I don't know if I've properly articulated all these points, but yes, that's all. That's my contribution.
All right. Thank you so much.
Answer questions, actually, yeah, more than speak, because as a South African, we hear the cries of our brothers and sisters across the continent. I was really here to listen more than to say anything.
Okay. So there are a lot of questions, comments, so to say, that people have been dropping in the chat room. So you probably might want to comment on some of them. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm trying to look. Let me look some comments are called so that we can comment on them. Maybe we can start with the one on the screen. What do you think?
The value of wearing your own cultural clothes. Again, we wear them. My mother wears it's a traditional African attire. I wish I could bring it. She might not like it, but we wear it. It's not very corporate friendly, because the South African corporate environment is very wide, if I can say it that way. But I mean, you have people who continue to wear their traditional attires. Maybe not the full-on regalia, but they do incorporate maybe bangles, earrings, their headscarf, their head wraps, and women wear, even men wear the Mandela shirts, the Diva shirts. We wear them in the corporate place. There isn't this push. maybe people might think, no, you can't wear the whole thing all the time. But people incorporate them in little ways. It's not fashionable to wear umpa. You mainly wear it like for weddings, on special occasions. But I don't know, it's not fashionable to wear it every day. And nor is it really practical. You know,
so you see, that's one of the points. Wearing our clothes should be something that we should do as a lifestyle, not occasionally. And
right.
even here in Nigeria, and it's pervasive across Africa, even in the work environment, you're expected to dress a certain way, the way the Europeans dress to work, in order for you to to be accepted at the workplace. If you try to dress you are not allowed to dress, for instance, the way I'm dressed now. What I'm putting on is an African dress. It's an Ankara dress. I don't know so this is what I'm putting on now. But I can't wear this to work on a Monday, on a Tuesday, during the week, because this is not official, this is not corporate, and it's pervasive, like I said, across all corporate environments. You're expected to dress in a certain way, like the Europeans, but there is a caveat that on Fridays, for instance, you can dress like this to work on a Friday. So mostly that comes from the fact that in Nigeria, Nigeria is we have Christians and Muslims in Nigeria. So Muslims dress a certain way, and Muslims go to mosque on Fridays. That's the day that they worship, so they dress like that. So I'm guessing that's where the culture of dressing like this on a Friday stems from, the fact that, okay, since it's Friday, any other person can leverage that and then dress like this to work. But I feel like that shouldn't be. We should be allowed to dress like this to work, because this is our style. This is our cultural expression as far as fashion is concerned. So why do we have to restrict it to a certain day, or maybe certain occasions where we have to celebrate something in the office or in the workplace, that we have to dress like Africans? That's another conversation that we probably need to have, that needs to be changed.
Yeah, I totally agree. Where I might deviate is where, like, nurses and there are some professions that you have to wear safety gear to carry out your tasks. But it doesn't make sense. If you could wear it on Friday, why can't you wear it any other day? You know what I mean? So of course, in corporate South Africa, they're very funny. I don't know why they have these rules you have to fit a certain mold or look a certain type, because we're different. And it's counter everything that is in the Constitution that says, let's embrace our differences. It goes against that kind of messaging. So I'm totally with you. We should be wearing more of our own traditional attires. People should wear whatever they want, whenever they want, within reason, But I agree with you. It makes no sense to say there's one day where you're allowed to be African, and the other day you are this organization. All the other days you bring yourself and who you are into that organization, and that should be reflected in that organization.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you. And like you said, for those who work in more professional settings that are required to put on certain protective gear, like health workers, construction workers, we can make exceptions for them. But for someone like me, who probably just goes to the office to do work and all of that, I should be allowed to dress as an African without having, because honestly, some days I wake up and I'm not just in the mood to put on any pants, like trouser, because here in Nigeria, when you call pants, it gives a different meaning. So we usually, the layman would say pants trouser. So I wake up some days and I'm not just in the mood to even put on any pants trouser, but because I'm going to work, I probably will just put it on and all. So most times I find clothes like this more comfortable for me to wear, like I'm doing now. It's so free and comfortable for me, all of that. So yeah, I agree with you. The Diaspora channel is back. Welcome back.
Yeah, you just made a comment that actually make me so vexed right now. Like, why can't people wear this to work in our own country? Because in their country we can't wear it. So what is wrong with our clothes?
Yes.
I hope the people that put those laws there understood that the people that don't, if they are saying you can't wear this, whose benefit are you, who is this specific things or law is benefiting? If you can't wear this, that means you're going to wear something that's been fabricated by them, isn't it? So why can't people be free and wear what they want to wear as long as it's appropriate? That's my question. So if someone will go to school, a graduate, finish, then now someone, I'm not saying there shouldn't be a code when it comes to what people can wear to work. But what is wrong, like, honestly, with what you are wearing or what I'm wearing? That's why this whole things, we really have to have a conversation with those in power that are implementing those, sorry to say, those silly laws, because it does not even make any sense. Where I come from, we have to wear a certain uniform, and that kind of material, they don't produce that in my country. So who is that benefiting? So we really have to sit down and start thinking, because we know that we are not poor. We are definitely not poor, but something is encouraging us to stay where we are. So we have to start with the very, very simple things like this. If a parent out there, for example, is able to have this type of material and use it for, their child as a uniform, and now you say you have to be khaki. I don't know how you English people say it on the other side. That's what we have to wear. So, seriously, like, everybody have to stand up and say something. Nothing, it's not like going out there and protest and do and just do craziness, but peaceful things, but voice things out, because this is not acceptable. Like, if we, I can't wear this and go to their work wherever, where I live. So in my own country, when I come back now and I say, oh, I have, I've got a job in Nigeria, I won't still be free to wear this. So what is wrong with us? That's why I just have to come back and say what I have on my mind, because this is just crazy.
Yeah, that's it. See, someone says hotel industry requires I put on a jacket and tie. It's really awful. So that's what you find. It's pervasive all across Africa, and also those are the conversations that we need to have, and we need to start having now, that even employers need to reconsider some of these colonial rules that they keep enforcing even in the workplace about dressing and all of that. So yeah, thank you so much, the Diaspora channel. I'm going to mute you now only because I want another person to also speak. So Osemonye, hope I got that name right. Sounds Nigerian.
Hello,
Welcome.
Monya. How you doing? Okay.
Okay, you're welcome.
You can hear
So
me.
let's
Yeah?
have your take. Speak, Ose.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I think it's
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to add in terms of how we can really work on the colonial mentality of Africans. As someone has said before, but I just want to emphasize on it, it's mainly education. Many people are not educated in terms of African history. See, if you don't know where you are coming from, then there is a problem with identity. I see so many Africans who have an identity crisis. That's because we have the wrong history. We've been taught and we've been told that our history is one of negativity. We were in the bush, fighting each other, killing each other, and didn't know what to do. So the Europeans came to rescue us. Now, when I say to you guys, obviously many of us here know better, so it might sound like common sense to us here, but there are so many people out there who do not know, they still think that that is the case. So people need to go out there and actually learn our history. Recently I was introduced to a book. It was by one Black historian, and he went around Africa taking pictures and documenting, trying to find out history of pre-slave trade. And there you will find that Africans did a lot of great things. I didn't know that until in the last 1 year. I didn't know that myself. There's so many people out there, they don't know that. When you don't know that, of course, you think your people are from the bush. And when you think your people are from the bush, you want to disassociate yourself with them. Nobody wants to identify with negativity. So if you think that your people are like from negative background and stuff, you don't know. Also, in terms of parents, people say, oh, parents need to teach children and stuff. But it would be parents who are themselves educated. My mom, for example, my mom is almost 70. I was talking to my mom about how the white came around and spoiled everything and did it. She herself did not know. So what he was saying it as if it was a good thing. The white people coming was a good thing that corrected many things. Now, I'm using my mom as an example. I'm not talking her out. Of course, it's not on purpose. It's just the education that they have, the exposure that they have. And there are millions and millions of people like that who have the same mindset that the white man came to rescue us. So they see everything white as good. Also, many things we are exposed to, whether it's books, whether it's TV channels, whether it's radio channels, because all these things are the things that are educating us without us knowing. That's why you see many people trying to speak like the white, because like me, growing up, all I watched was CNN. That's all I watched. And here in my country, I'm from the same country as you, by the way, and Grace. So I'm from Nigeria, and anytime you watch NTA, most times it's not here. Many times you have to switch to CNN. So you see many people trying to copy the way the presenters on CNN speak because they think that is the right way. Do you get what I mean? Instead of speaking in our natural way, they want to copy the way. So you can see not just have they come around and change history and impose an education on us. They've also set something on autopilot that we now are the ones educating ourselves and wrongly and learning the wrong history. All we are watching now is CNN, BBC, and those kind of things. The person that has enslaved you, the person who wants to take everything you have, how is that person going to ever teach you something that is real? That's why they will tell us that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. How can Mungo Park discover River Niger when we are the ones that took Mungo Park to River Niger? It didn't just fall from the sky and knew where River Niger was. And thank God that malaria even killed him there. So you can see how many times we are both consciously and unconsciously, we've been imbibed with the wrong thing. I want to really focus on that history one I mentioned. Every African really needs to go and study African history. And the problem I encounter when I try to learn is that there are bits and pieces all over the internet. But we cannot find books written by Black historians. Please, let's not go and read the ones written by the whites, because most of them, they have messed it up. Let's look for the ones written by Black historians that are true accounts. Until recently, I didn't even know that Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. I'm sure many people here, maybe 80% of here, would think, oh, pyramids is all Egypt, because that's what they tell us. Sudan even has far more pyramids than Egypt. Whether it's where we develop maths, we develop science, they were carrying out operations already in Egypt and doing so many things in African countries, whether it's the Great Wall of Benin Kingdom, whether it's all the things they did in Ile-Ife and all the stuff they've stolen from us. We are traveling from Africa to come and look at our own artifacts in Paris and in London. The things that they told us are not good. They've taken it, come and put it in their own museums. We now have to pay as stories to come and look at those things. Do you know how many millions they generate from all these things? Until recently, I'm learning how all those French-speaking countries have been depositing over 50% of their reserves in the French economy. And then the French have to then borrow it back to them when they need it at a market interest rates. So that is because I'm curious to find out these things. Many of us here probably were curious to find out these things. There are so many people out there, especially those who are born outside Africa, that many of them don't have the patience to find out these things and all that kind of stuff. So they will never know. And when they don't know, they now have the history of the history perspective that they have been taught. So when they see a black person like me, what do you think? What would they think? They think, see another man from the bush. How would they relate with me? They want to associate themselves from me. So a big thing is working on history. And it's good that you're talking about this, and I commend you for it. People that have platforms, they must start using their platforms to pass on this education. It's not just, I mean, it's good we have to do fashion, makeup, and all that kind of stuff, but it's very, very important that we also infuse in there a lot of education. I see my sister here wearing an African attire. This is part of it. You can see how beautiful it is. When you're not seeing this kind of stuff, you will not know about it, and you will not think it's good. So welcome for using your medium to pass out this information, because many young people, they might not have the time to read books and all that kind of stuff, but at least they might be watching YouTube or they will see it on Instagram. Let's be using this way to pass on the education. I can't hear you. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I muted myself, so I just went on to talk and I forgot that I muted myself. I'm sorry. So I was saying, thank you so much, Ose. You've made very valid points, and basically, even though your sound was sort of distorted, but what I got from it, because I had to listen very closely, is that we should embrace our culture, our history as Africans, and we should do a lot of work, be interested in learning about our own history as Africans, and to promote our history, because we have so much on the continent that when we promote and place value on, we can generate revenue from those, for instance, the pyramids in Sudan that you made reference to. We can generate revenue on the continent from all of that. Why do we have to pay for flight to fly all the way to France to look at the tower called the Tower of Eiffel Tower? Why can't they fly to Africa to go and see the pyramids in Sudan, to go and see all the Ikogosi waterfall? Why not? We have all of these beautiful things. So it's about embracing and placing value on who we are and on all of the natural resources that we have, the beauty that abounds on the continent, so that people can come here as well. Okay.
You know, in terms of that one, I don't want to go picture. Just in terms of that one, wait, I just come in there. That one is marketing. If you live, say, outside Africa, or even when I was in Nigeria, I lived in Nigeria for many years before I traveled out, we don't know how to market ourselves. Nobody's marketing the Obudu Kapiran. Nobody's marketing the dam. Nobody's marketing the sound, what they call it, in Kabi. Nobody's marketing those things. Even here, I don't hear many people saying, sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my sound, but hopefully you can hear a bit of that there. So you don't hear anybody here saying they are going to visit Nigeria for tourism, or they're going to visit a place. But we hear so much they're going to visit Greece, they're going to visit Miami, they're going to visit California. A lot of that has to do with marketing. We don't market. That's why I'm really happy, a lot of African people that's now, portraying Africa in a good light, going around with the camera and stuff. We need to be better at putting on our cameras, because in Lagos, for example, the last time I went on holiday to Lagos, and I went to somewhere called Freedom Park in Lagos. As soon as I brought out my camera, someone walked up to me and said I should pay him 50,000 naira just to take pictures. If I don't take those pictures and put on my Instagram and put on online and stuff, how will people know about these places and want to see them? If you go, when I went to New York, it's like you are being encouraged to take pictures. You are being encouraged to take videos, because they know that is marketing, it's free marketing for Times Square. But in Africa, as soon as you bring out your camera, someone walks up to you and says, give me money. 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira, for what? So we need to be better at marketing. Again, I'm not going to blame government, because I try not to blame government. It's us who have to resist these things. So, for example, when they asked me to give money, I said no. And I tried to speak to some other creatives and say, anytime they ask you for money, say no, and use your platforms to talk about these things, raise awareness so that people know that these things are going wrong. Because if we don't speak about it, it will not change. we need to market Africa and market Africa. They are doing a very good job at marketing the Eiffel Tower in Paris, even though I've never been there and I have no plans of going. They're doing a very good job of marketing it. We as well have to do a very good job at marketing our own. Nobody's going to market it for us unless we ourselves market it. Yeah.
You're muted again.
I'm sorry, it's like I'm not going to mute myself again. I always forget. So like I was saying, I agree with you. The aspect of taking pictures is something that I'll probably have to address in a separate video, because that's free marketing, but we meet a lot of resistance, especially as creators. I used to do vlogs, like go to public places to make videos, but when you get to certain places, they'll tell you, no, you can't take pictures, you can't do this. And I find that so ridiculous, that's to say the least. So thank you so much for that. Welcome Kalonji, you're welcome. Thank you. You've been standing by. Thanks for your patience. You're welcome. Let's have your take.
It's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh yeah. Like the main thing that has been bothering me, at least when it comes to our people, is that why is it that we always try to look for the acknowledgement and to be loved by other races? It shouldn't matter if white people, Asian people, Chinese people, these Indians and whatnot, not love us. We are not going to all be loved. Even with all the other races around the world, they're not everyone loves them and whatnot. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. This is the first time I've spoken on this platform. But when you look at all of it, there's no one that's going to be all completely loved. And it's like, it seems like with African people, we are begging for all of these people to love us, saying, please like me, please love me, please spend time with me, be my friend. And I think that's something as a people that we need to stop. I think it's ridiculous. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that's why we're having this conversation. It's the time of begging for acceptance from people is over, long over. We should embrace who we are as African. We are beautiful. I find this disturbing, because this is who I am. This is who and how I know how to be authentically. I cannot be a white person, no matter how I try. See, I be Niger girl. My mindset, my mentality, the Nigerian mentality. Sorry, I'm speaking like I've deviated, but that's just who I am. That's how I know how to be authentically. So no matter how I try to be like a white person, I can't. I can never be. So it's easier for me to embrace myself as I am, as an African. It's easier, and that's what we need to push for. A lot of people to know more. In my office now, they call me an African lady, because I'm always all about, we are Africans, we should be proud, we should be. And so my colleagues sort of like jokingly call me African lady, but I said that's okay, that's fine. I can go on and on, but Floor is back, and I agree with your point, Kalonji. We do not need to seek validation from Western people by trying to adhere to those Western standards of living in order for us to find acceptance or validation. Because no matter how we try and do all of this, they still are not going to accept us. That's just the sad reality and the sad truth. So why even bother? So
Yes.
thank you for that contribution. Welcome, Floor. Floor is back. Let's have you.
Oh, hi.
Let's have your take. Sorry, before you speak, if you're coming by for the first time, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the bell beside it. Also, give this stream a thumbs up. Let's get the numbers up and share these. Share. I have also been dropping my PayPal link. A lot of you have been asking me in my previous streams and videos about where you can make donations to support my channel. So I've created a PayPal account that I've been dropping in the chat room. So I'm dropping it again. You can click on that and then make any donation you want to make. Thank you all so much. I appreciate your love and your support. Let's have your take, Flo.
Oh wow. Anyway, To get back with some of the panelists that were talking, let's forget about my previous point. Like I was going to say,
There's an echo.
I
There's
said
an echo.
pardon?
There's an echo.
I
Maybe
said
you might have to turn down your volume.
I'm turning down my volume as I.
Sadly, I can't hear her. You want to say something? Diaspora channel. You want to say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, curiosity has its own reason for existing. So you should never take things at face value. You should always ask questions. My father taught me that the reason why he wanted us to have the best possible education was so that we could use that education as a weapon against the Europeans, because that is the only thing they understand. Sometimes to win a war, you do not have to get violent. You use the enemy's own weapon against them. Since white people think that they're superior to black people anyway, because of their education, they think that they're the most civilized, plus their civilization is only over 400 years old, and Africa is the oldest civilization in the world. We're going to play that game together until I get what I want from you. It's just simple and short. My parents taught me to be confident in who I am and in my blackness. I do not know myself as a white woman because I've never been white. I've always been a light-skinned Negro, and I like it the way it is. Nobody, to pick up from the point of the gentleman that was speaking before, nobody is going to make me feel less than I am because I was brought up as a black supremacist. Okay, so it's not only white people that can suffer from the condition. And then to pick up the point of the lady that's wearing the rather nice traditional outfit in a contemporary manner there, she made a point about how she doesn't like the restrictions of having to wear what she classifies as a Western suit to go to work. Well, it actually does depend where you work. If you are a lawyer in Europe, you're going to have to wear a suit. The court has strict dress code for those people in that particular profession. Whether you like it or not, that's why you went to university for 4 years, 6 years of your life, okay, to get the qualification for, and that's what they say you wear before your honor. So you're just going to have to wear it. You want to go to a job where you have the pleasure of wearing your traditional African garb if you want, but within certain restrictions, have jobs that will take you with those type of clothing. You understand? It depends on the industry where you work. Now, I have worked for many, many different industries. I've worked in banking, I've worked in fashion, I've worked in law, I've worked in government and everything else. Am I bothered by the dress code? No, because an outfit does not identify me. An outfit only identifies my style. It does not tell somebody the kind of character or the kind of values or the kind of morals that I have. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So for me, I don't understand the argument about clothing. If you work in an African company, they may have some rules and regulations on how you should be presented. And because Africa too is a rather hot country, they might put you in a box and say to you, okay, you can wear your native, but men should just wear senator and the trouser. Women, you can wear the skirt and the top, but your shoulders up here, everywhere should be covered. That shouldn't be an issue. You want to be a fashionista at work, then you go and work for a fashion company, work for a magazine and everything else. They don't mind how you present yourself when you go to work. They don't care. Even work for Vogue, you can get a African outfits. But if you're going to work in certain distinct professions, that need you to be respected by your client. And that also reassures your client as to your professionalism and expertise. Then you are going to have to present yourself in the manner in which it is expected. The outfit does not make the person. A priest can wear a cloth. That doesn't mean that he's not a pedophile just because he's saying Jesus. You see what I mean about outfit? Outfit is not important. But if you don't like to conform to certain things, take non-conformist jobs and be happy. Now, people are talking about colonization and all these decolonize, whatever. It's basically the argument between is Uncle Tom's Cabin, the field slave versus the house slave. And the problem with Uncle Tom, the moral of the story for Uncle Tom, he betrayed his own people. I remember seeing that movie when I was just 5 years old. He betrayed his own people. He sold out his own people who worked in an equal position to him, yeah, to his white owners. Everything he should have kept secret, Uncle Tom repeated to the white people to the detriment of his own people. So some of them lost their lives. Some of them were jailed because of what Uncle Tom chose to do. That's a colonialized mind, okay? But at the end of the day, what did all the loyalty of Uncle Tom pay back to Uncle Tom? All he got from these white people he was praising so much was a cabin in the backwoods of the house. It was just a 2-room cabin. That's what happens to traitors. It's the same analogy for Judas. It's the same analogy for many, many different characters in the Bible from time immemorial. You understand? So to me, I don't know. Am I colonialized? No, I am not. Am I an educated Black person? Yes, I am. Can I speak like a white person? When it suits me, and depending on the environment in which I am, it benefits me. When I take a plane to come to Africa, the way in which I'm talking to you here is not the way I talk when I get to the airport, because I know the mentality of my people. I know it. So when I come there, Oga, how about you? So you don't rob me, because I know that if I come across as JJC, they will take financial advantage of me. And I don't want to have that argument. I am somebody for whom time is very, very important. I don't have time to argue with people. I look at somebody, if I think you're an idiot, I don't even answer you. I just keep moving. You know, you just keep it moving. I don't have time for that. Because at the end of the day, karma is a bitch and it bites everybody in the end. So you choose your corner in life. Yes, we have, the education system that the colonials dropped on us if we are fortunate enough to go to halfway decent schools. Now, the other poor schools in Africa, the system is a little bit different, but it's still based on the World War II model that people are not even trained. Even colonials do not train. White people do not train their white children in schools, yeah, to become presidents, to become entrepreneurs, to become, I don't know, directors of a company. They do that. School system only teaches you book up to a certain level, then doesn't teach you anything else. So when you come out there, most graduates find that they have an issue with getting a job, because it's the classic thing, isn't it? Your parents tell you, my dear, if you study your book, if you read your books, if you keep thriving in school, if you keep trying to have A's and B's, don't look at C or don't look at D, don't look at E, please, A and B only, preferably A+, okay? You will be somebody. That is a lie. Somebody can become a very good lawyer tomorrow, and I'll tell you what, the only difference between you and that lawyer is that because of that lawyer's position in society, he can get a better type of loan than you. He can drive the newest BMW because of accreditation. Yeah? But does that make him a millionaire? No, it doesn't. So the school system needs to change to teach people differently. Plenty of successful Black people I've gone to school without going to university. We all have mobile phones throughout the world. Now, these ringtones that we have there, do you know who created the ringtone? It was a 19-year-old Nigerian boy in London. He was the first one who managed to crack the code to get music to play on mobile phones, so you can get music as your ringtone. At the time, he was fighting with his father. He was a Yoruba boy. He was fighting his father because his father told him, you must go to university. You must learn law, doctorate, whatever, be somebody, so at least your future is guaranteed. Education does not guarantee you success. Education is only a key. People who are spiritually lucky enough to know their destiny early on in life don't need to go to university. That's why you've had so many millionaires who have never been to university, are just honorary degree holders. That means that you never went to the education system, completed the education system, but because you had a brilliant idea or you invented something and became very, very successful, some establishments such as La Sorbonne, MIT, Harvard, Oxford decide to recognize you and make you their fellow. But why do they do that? Do they do that because they're really, truly proud of you, or because there's a hidden agenda behind it? The person who pioneered cardiac surgery was a black man. The person who created ice cream was a black man. The person who created traffic lights was a black man. People talk about decolonization, but at the end of the day, you're talking about the Western narrative. But the West narrative is actually based on the success of your ancestors. It is based on the success of your Nubian ancestors. The first people to design the steps were Africans, and white people discovered that through going to Egypt and seeing the pharaohs. That's how they knew about it. Okay? Also, the thing that they don't teach you in school is that African, sculptural art was what actually affected Western architectural skills when they came to us. And that is what inspired all the skyscrapers you see in Europe and in America. It was actually African cultural art that inspired white people to do that. So at the end of the day, instead of bitching all day long, I'm sorry to use that type of French, but let's be frank, we're adults. Instead of bitching all day long about the white man this and the white man that, then what? Why don't you just say to the white man, don't you F the white man? Yeah? Life is a chessboard. Know how to play it and put your enemy consistently in check. That's all you have to do. Yeah? If you want your children not to feel bad about the so-called curly hair, nappy hair, or whatever you want to call it, it is your responsibility as the parent at home to make your child feel good in their own skins, so that when they go in front of strange-looking people, i.e. white people, their hair is not that great, because when it's wet, it looks like fur. That's what I think. It looks like fur. It reminds me of animal fur. I don't see the difference between dog hair and a white person's hair. I don't. Okay? So it's up to the parents to make sure that their children are psychologically and emotionally stable enough to be able to deal with situations and any obstacles they encounter in life. Yeah? Because white people have cleverly used what they learned from us to their own benefit. So why is it that people in the diaspora or people in Africa do not use the same thing that we gain from them, which is education? Those of us who are lucky enough to get in a plane to go abroad and be educated should use that against white people. But do you have to do it in the Western world? No, you don't. You can use that education, come back home, and help your economy. Historically, no government, black, white, Chinese, or in between, has been known to help the economy of their own country. It is entrepreneurs who do it. It is those who are true patriots, love their country and their lands enough, who have the skills and the education to go back home, set up companies because they are risk takers, and employ people, okay, to change the economy of their country. Mensa Musa was the richest man on earth. Till date, they say that even Bill Gates does not equate Mensa Musa. So I just want Black people to just stop that finger pointing nonsense, yeah, and start concentrating on the real issues instead of playing the game of diversion, which the white man has used against us for centuries and centuries. I'm exhausted. That's it.
Thank you so much for your point. You've made valid points as well. While she was speaking, I saw some reactions in the comments. There were some points she made that some people disagreed with. I'm going to just sort of address some of them briefly before we continue. The first is the fact about dressing. So what we said is that in Africa, people, because dressing as Africans is the way we are, that's how we know how to dress. So we should be allowed to dress as such, even in the workplace, but we made an exception, for instance, for people who are in professional jobs such as nursing or the medical field, people who need to put on sort of protective gear while they provide their services in order to protect themselves. Exceptions can be made for such people, but for people in other corporate settings and less formal settings, we should be allowed to dress as Africans, because the Europeans dress because that's how they dress, that's their own way of dressing. So as Africans, we should also be allowed to dress exactly like that, in the workplace. So that was a point. And who says we can't change? Because the law profession, for instance, the colonial way of dressing for lawyers was passed down by the colonial masters. They brought the white wig. So why do African lawyers still have to wear a white wig on the head? Is that necessary? We can have conversations and change certain things. These were colonial, these are colonial relics that we can address and start to do away with. So those were some of the exceptions we made, and that was the conversation that we had. That I, for instance, should be allowed to put on what I'm putting on now to work because it's not provocative, it's comfortable, and it's not indecent, okay? But it's an African outfit. So that's one of the points, and that was what the Diaspora channel also said. And then the next point, I think we're talking about education. I agree. We have to go back to embracing ourselves, and if possible review our curriculum. And by all means, I'm not against acquiring new knowledge from the West, for instance, because like someone said in the comment section, we can take from the West the things that are valuable and good, that can improve our collective lot as Africans, but we do not have to take down everything that is passed down to us, especially in the media. People are exposed to all sort of things in the media, Western media. Someone made mention of him watching CNN, BBC, and all of that. But some of the information that they put in those media are not to the good of Africans, So we need to embrace more of knowledge sources that promote Africa and empower us as Africans to embrace ourselves, to have a Pan-African mentality to life and everything that we do. So we can acquire that Western knowledge that is valuable and then come back to Africa to impact Africa positively and push. Like the person said in the comments, after all, these people learn from us. They learn from us. Majority of the things that they've advanced today or developed today and are laying claim to, they learn from us. So it's not bad that we can go back, learn the good things from them, and then impact Africa positively. So those are just the points that people tended to disagree with you, that I felt I should just address, and let's be sort of like on the same page. So the Diaspora, do you want to say anything? Let me drop the link. If you want to come up on the show, the link is here, and give this stream a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, don't forget, click the subscribe button, and of course share this stream on all your social media platforms. I'm going to drop my PayPal link again because some of you have been asking me how you can make donations. So I'm dropping that now. You can click on it and make a donation to support my channel, right? So let's have you speak on the Diaspora channel. By the way, the Diaspora channel also has a YouTube channel. So as soon as you're done here, go check her channel out and support her as well, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, you know, you said a lot already when it comes to correcting what you know, our sister just said, because my point was about, I know where I live, and you know, you have a little bit of like the, you know, Londonish accent. I'm not gonna be able to word this to work. That was my point. So if I go back to my country, because I know every workplace have their dress code, and I respect it as long as I agree to work for that specific job, you know, setting. So what I'm saying is not about me not agreeing with a lawyer wearing a suit or whatever the, you know, is their, you know, their dress code. But I'm saying I know that's what I have to do here. So why should I go back in my country and expect to do the exact same things where we have our own attire we can use, and you know, design it the same way if there is a need for it, instead of saying, oh, you know, because that's how they are doing it in the West, a lawyer also in Nigeria or Togo have to do the exact same thing with these ridiculous wigs on their heads. So that was my you know, that was my point. It's not like I know that the dress definitely does not make you who you are, but we have to understand the importance of people on the continent, our brothers and sisters on the continent. The point you know, what we want to, the message you want to pass today is the importance of undoing certain things if it's come to, you know, like the school, our curriculum or any other things, the media. What can we do for, you know, for us to know that we are enough? So that was you know, the point. So I'm not against dress code, but if that's what we have to do here in the West, why will people also on the continent have to follow that exact same rules? That was my point. So you cover it you know, well already, Grace.
All right, thank you so much, Diaspora channel. So
You're
we are going
welcome.
to have Ines. Ines, you came before George, so Ines, go first before my friend George goes. Ines.
Hello guys. I live in the UK. What I want to say that what Auntie said about like the mentality, the slavery mentality, we need to stop that. Sometimes we need to hold. We need to be accountable of our mistakes that we make. Sometimes we always point a finger on the white people. Oh, white people is this. What we need to do, we need to be like Chinese. You know, Chinese, you know how the Japanese, they did the American, they did Japanese and stuff. They started how could I say, they started making changes for their own countries. And that's what we need in Africa. We need to start making changes. We need to stop saying that, oh, this is the white man, because when we say that, we're not ending nothing. We're not helping our own. We are not helping our problems. So we need to stop that, and we need to stand up as Africans, as black, say, oh, okay, enough is enough. Let's do the work. Let's put like, how do you say, let's start developing Africa. We need to stop that, and that's what I wanted to add. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, so George, let's have your contribution.
Okay, guys, thanks everyone. Thanks, Virtue. I've listened, but not consistently. I've been able to take in some information here and there, but I think I get the gist of it. And your panelist, I don't know her name again, but you know what? She says things that I totally agree with. Now, I don't know if or what her position was on outfit, clothes we wear. Well, here's my take on that. Let's not get so bogged down on what we put on our bodies. Let's just make sure we cover our bodies up. But whether you want to wear pants, as is done out in the West, or you wish to wear something much more traditional, casual, so be it. If it's accepted with society in which we live, let's do that. So long as you find yourself confident in what you're wearing, not wanting to blend in, let's stand out if we have to stand out. Here's what I think matters is what we put into our brains, what goes down into our psyche, what helps us have self-actualization. Those things matter. And then I wanted to mention too that, hey, I wouldn't mind copying the white person or the Chinese person or whoever or whatever color. What I need is to be able to glean what's useful, what's valuable, what profits me, what moves my people ahead. Let's not get caught up on, well, we're not going to take in Christianity because it came from the white man. Well, not all white people know who God is. You see? So if you know that you want life, receive Christianity or whatever other religion that you feel suits your style. It's important. White folks don't have the trove of knowledge, folks. They got some of what they got from ancient Greeks. They got some of that from some ancient Romans. They got some of that from Africa. White people know how to adapt. We need to begin to become a people that are adaptable. Adapt to what you know is working. We have so much knowledge in Africa. What we don't have is synergy. That support system that says, hey, sweetheart, my sister, my brother, you got it going on. I want to back you up. Let's take you up to the next level. That's what we don't have. It's not because we're bereft of knowledge. My sister, that I'm looking now at my phone, the one that spoke, that has spoken before, Virtue, you know who I'm speaking of, the one I'm talking about. I just don't know her name. She makes very good, cogent points. Every time I hear her on your platform, I love it. Because she kept talking about how we can't keep pointing fingers at the white man, at the Chinese. We're being robbed. They're taking our resources. Well, let's stop it. Let's get people in offices that we know we can hold accountable. Let's hold their feet to the fire. But individually, the choices we make in this last generation, as it may be, I don't know. Don't say I said it's definitely the last generation, but this could be the very one of the last generations on the earth before things really get chaotic and get topsy-turvy. So I say, let's not worry about the hair. If we're buying hair, just make sure your hair you use it on your head or that you plait it in is safe. Let's make sure it's healthy. Let it not be something that eventually gets to become a problem for your body. Let's make sure that the medicines we're taking or ingesting for illnesses are right, not just some Chinese machination that is brought into Africa to make money. Whatever someone has that is good and we can test it and make sure it's good, let Africa use it. No one else is keeping back, holding back to borrow from Africa what they think works in their society. So why should we? At this late stage of the game, this is no time to throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Get the baby out of the bathwater and discard what we don't need. And that's in saying let's use knowledge. And with knowledge, get wisdom. And knowledge itself alone is not enough. That's why I say with knowledge, get wisdom. So you know how to appropriate what it is we need to appropriate for a better society. But let's not be discriminative in saying just because it is a Western as origination that it has necessarily to be anti-Africa. It could be good for Africa. If it's good, adopt it, use it, but let's free our minds of the enslavement mentality. I keep harping on this one because it seems to be the African problem. If somebody's light skinned, does it necessarily mean they are smart? I don't think
Keep hopping
so.
on this because it seems to be the
It is
African problem.
what's in the head. What's in the head? Test it. A professor in the university, not all of them are smart either. Some professors do a good job. Some of them advance purposes that are good and collective that could build a society and make us stronger and better and wiser. But some aren't. So let's take that ownership to say, no matter what I do, I want my day to be one that is enlightened. If you're a history professor, teach proper history. Find out who Africa, what are Africans, where did we come from, where are we going? Somebody earlier on this platform mentioned the real name for Africa. So we were given a name that we didn't even come up with. Nigeria would not have been Nigeria, but for the wife of one of the colonizers' representative that came up with the idea. Well, let's call this region the Niger area. So Nigeria took hold. But what's Nigeria? So if we want to be essential in our thinking and moving forward, maybe we should rename Nigeria and come up with an African name. What's wrong with that? Happens every day. So let's break the yoke that has been put on us, on our minds. Let's liberate ourselves from those past colonial schemes that were set up just to divide a people. But at the end of the day, we can't keep looking back, my friends. Time is passing us by. Let's strike forward. Let's shape our thoughts in a manner that is profitable for knowledge and for our kids that follow after us. America doesn't have all the answers, nor do the Europeans. The answer lies within us. It's right there in Africa. Let's dig it up and let's move forward. And let's see who comes alongside to lift Africa up. But we have the money in Africa. We just need to find out all the bank accounts in Europe and America where these funds are hidden. Because they take it out of Africa and park it in some bank overseas where I'm at. What's the point of it? We have so much money. That's what's built Europe. Virtue. Europe looks good. Good roadways, good transportation systems, hotels and facilities. And Africa has nothing. And the few things we have in Africa owned by a few group of people. And the masses are suffering and going to their graves. Some can't even find 3 square meals, much less a decent home to live in. But I tell you, don't turn your anger on yourselves. Turn your anger on to the problems. Let's seek the answers. Let's figure out how to make things work. We can. Let's not keep waiting and just talking about it. I like action. I'm driven by action. Not too much of my talking, but when somebody's talking, I want to hear. Whoops, George, is there something in there you could use? That's how I am. Does that bring out the best in you, George? But I just don't want to be a talker. I want to be a doer. So when we leave this platform today that we've been listening to and watching, let's ask ourselves questions. How do I modify my behavior? How do I modulate something I've been doing to make it the better? Who could I affect? Takes one person. Find somebody in your neighborhood, maybe a little boy, little girl, and say, sit down, little girl. Let me talk to you about what I heard today on Virtue Love's platform. You think they don't hear us? Yes, they do. You may think they're not educated, but it takes a mind that is open, and that's not subject to age. Could be a little girl, little boy, and they hear you. So let's make the differences where it matters, because some folks are just too grown to change. How about we begin to seek out those who are still absorbing information and knowledge, the younger ones, beginning with our own children. I can't say much, but I just wanted to chime in on that particular aspect, Virtue. To say it's good topic, you always bring it. You bring information. You bring topics that causes one to say, And so you've done it again. But let's do something with it. Let's get beyond just talking, folks, my sister, my brother. Let's do something with this stuff that Africa may turn around
Of all the continents on the earth, Africa is so behind and yet so rich. What's the catalyst?
Much, George. Thank you, George, for your contribution. I appreciate that. Let me see you give the thumbs up and share this stream. If you have not subscribed, I can see a lot of you are expressing concerns that you don't get notified. That's why I keep repeating. When you click the subscribe button, you have to click on the bell. Once you click on that bell, you get all notifications. Don't click on some, click on get all notifications. That way, when I'm live, YouTube will notify you. When I post new videos, YouTube will notify you as well. So when you subscribed, if you didn't click the bell, just go back and then click the bell. Okay, so that's the update I want to give you on that. Thank you all so much. So we are having conversations here. I'm enjoying every bit of contributions, and I honestly do hope that when we have these conversations beyond just this live stream, like George said, we can take this message out and have conversations with people around us. Because trust me, some people we're also busy getting about life and doing our things that sometimes we don't pause to have some of these conversations or these thoughts. But you can just nudge a colleague, you can nudge an acquaintance and say, what do you think about this? How can we start decolonizing our mindset as Africans? And you start having conversations. Let's have, an African perspective towards the things that we do. Someone dropped that comment. I think I pinned it here. He said we are talking about African mindset and principles. He dropped that comment. I pinned it earlier. I think I've removed it. But so it's all about having, and it's not about us being resistant to embracing new ideas that will advance us, like I said. But fundamentally, a Chinese, for instance, is a Chinese, and wherever he goes, whatever he does, he's going to do that to be in the interest of China and Chinese. So what happens? Why can't we have that sort of perspective and mindset towards life and everything that we do? The whole issue of even this white supremacy that we talk about, it draws from the mindset that they think that as white people they are superior. So we need to start lifting ourselves as well, even as Africans, with the knowledge that we are not inferior, we are just as equal and as deserving. And how can we advance ourselves? How can we improve ourselves? By having those much needed conversations and taking the right actions. Welcome to the show, Jehu. Let's have your contribution.
Hello, how you doing, Grace? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, thank you. I've actually been listening and hearing the different views. I'm actually in the United States. I'm an African American, and I live here, and I've actually been learning a lot, hearing people's different perspectives. But I guess one of the things I would like to know, and I guess this is more in the form of a question, is why. I think I saw a lot of that during my recent visit to the continent when I visited Senegal and the Gambia last year. It was my first time visiting the continent. It seemed to me that, like, for instance, where I stayed, the hotel where I visited, it seemed like many of the hotels where I visited on the continent were either American-based or European-based hotels that were there in Africa. And I just kind of wonder, why is it that it seems like those things are more promoted in the African countries as to things that are uniquely and indigenously African? I guess somebody visiting there, coming there for the first time, I'm looking for something, when I visit, I'm hoping to actually, have that experience instead of basically staying in hotels that I can stay in here in the States. To me, and it's like, I don't know, it seems like those brands were kind of put forward for me to see, or for me to stay here or go see here and go visit there, instead of things that were indigenously and uniquely, part of the culture there. So I'm asking, because I've heard people speak about what you can wear where you work and everything. I think in a lot of these establishments where these companies are based outside of Europe, if their home base or headquarters is in Europe or the United States, they're going to dictate policies about what you can and cannot wear, what's acceptable to them. And they're not going to leave it up to you, even though it's in your country, to wear what you want to wear. And I think that this is just my humble opinion, that if these companies were headquartered there in those countries, and these were African-based countries that had no affiliation with Europe or the US or else, then you could proudly wear what you want to wear and become that, and wouldn't have to answer to anybody or follow anybody else's protocol. So I think being able to promote your own, develop your own, and create your own there in your country without any kind of monetary or affiliation or ties to any of the countries in Europe or in the US or anywhere else would allow the African-based countries the freedom to be able to wear the clothing that they want to wear and express themselves the way they want to express themselves without having to be apologetic or explain it to anybody, because you shouldn't have to. You should have the right and freedom to dress and wear what you want to wear. That's just my opinion.
You see, but I agree with what you've said. But that's why we are all calling for us having a Pan-African mindset, because people only treat you the way you treat yourself, and if you place premium on yourself, you can demand that in return from people. And so, if I got you right, you see, these companies that have branches, or would I say franchises in Africa, they come here and they come with their own culture and practices and principles, how they do business and how it should be done, and that's totally fine, because there are organizational cultures, how things are done in different organizations based on the visions of the founders. But then what we are saying is, if as Africans we first of all start living our lives as Africans, in the way we dress, in the way we behave, and all of those expressions, then when these people come with their companies to Africa, they would automatically know that as Africans, this is who they are, like in the way they dress, or in the sort of principles and policies that govern the different countries in Africa. As a foreign company, when you come, this is how you should adapt, because the previous speaker said it. In America, Europeans dress the way they dress. So as you work there in Europe, even as an African, you have to dress the way they tell you to dress because you're in Europe. So the same should be done in Africa. When you bring your company to Africa, and I, Grace, for instance, is going to get employed, then I have to dress as an African, as a Nigerian. That is how culturally I dress. That is how authentically I am as an African, as a Nigerian, and that shouldn't even be a topic for debate. But we haven't gotten there yet. If we as Nigerians are forbidding our own employees from dressing this way to work, except probably on a Friday, which is considered a free day and all, then we cannot demand any better from any other person. So that's what we're saying. And it's not just about what you call it, dressing. It cuts across everything we do and are as Africans, basically.
I understand. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So if you want to come on the show, or George, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of buttress. Yeah, I wanted to buttress what you said. It's one thing for us. Let's let the Europeans and Americans come into Africa and do business, but let's also set down some rules that they aren't coming in to change culture, change attire, change our way of defining ourselves. If they want a need to settle in Africa, then they have to adapt to African ways. Bring in your resource, build good hotels, hire Africans to work for you in your hotels, but we have our own already endemic ways of doing things and of relating. So we just it goes back to what we said earlier. We accept what's good of Western culture, but we don't accept everything. Let's discard what's not proper. So many things are unprofitable in our world. Not everything we read and see is good for us. So let's define who we are and stand in that tradition. White people, when they see that we are united, it could be intimidating. They find footholds because they know in many situations we're very disparate. In our thoughts, in our interests, we pursue mostly selfish things. What benefits me? That's all. But if we begin to think collectively, what's good for Nigeria? What's good for Ghana? What's good for the Gambia? If we do things, and then better still, what's Pan-African? What's good for Africa as a continent? Then no one can come in very easily swaying us. I'd watched something recently on another network, I believe it was African Tigress, where some of the biggest landowners in Kenya are not even Kenyan, maybe Kenyan by third and fourth generation. And they have the best parts, the arable parts of Kenya, the best wilderness. They own it and build beautiful resorts and restrict who can come in there. Kenyans can't even come in there, except for this pandemic. That's when they let Kenyans come in and stay. What's wrong with that picture? I tell you, I want every one of us to start thinking about your brother. Build your business. My brother there who's in the US with me, visit Africa. Bring with you whatever investments you wish to make in Africa and make them. But make them knowing the folks in Africa have been there for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands. Let's not try to retool what's already working. They've got it going on. We just need to give them a little help. Africa knows what direction to go in. Let's be confident and move forward. What we don't have is time. I can't say we can't roll back and go back 2,000 years ago. This is 2020. Who knows if we even have 5, 10 years as a people, not just Africa, but the world. Folks, what's coming is not easy. These are hard times, like Charles Dickens wrote. So let's go into Africa and say, what do we do in the moment? Let's live now. Plan for the future. Live in the now and make and take actions that we know can improve a life. Multiple lives, even better. But let it be one that could improve a life. And let's not wait till we got it all figured out. Let's borrow from whoever we borrow from. Chinese, English, all these societies are falling apart anyway. But let's glean all the good out of them, sponge it up, and use it in Africa. I want to build Africa. That's what I want to do. And so wisdom is not just for one particular race. It's for all of us. Let's use it and let's build Africa. Let's stop being victims. The worst is when we make ourselves victims, self-victimization. I don't want to victimize myself. So I know somebody else wishes to put a rope around my neck, but I refuse it. Let's not enslave ourselves. By enslaving our minds, we enslave ourselves. Let's wear and put on whatever we want to wear. Whatever makes you feel good, feel like a woman, feel like a man, let's put it on. But let's build our minds and let's begin to break the yoke, the bondage somebody else put on you. Let's say no. Let's say yes to freedom, yes to knowledge, and with knowledge, wisdom.
Thank you so much, George. Valuable contributions as usual. Okay, I can see someone is trying to join us, so let's have him. Tidus Bitley, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Let's have your contribution.
Hello, family. How y'all doing? um, well, what George said, I actually agree with that. But the only thing that I can say is that we're in a time where we shouldn't be able to borrow from other people. Only the fact is that most of the things they do, it's only in the self-interest of themselves or their country. That's it. They're practicing capitalism as we speak. That's why they keep going to Africa buying land, so it can just benefit them and generations to come after, and also their country. Because that's why we see that they always impose sanctions onto African leaders and our people over there. So um, the main thing as far as us decolonizing ourselves, I think we should uh, reason with each other more. And I know we all opinionated individuals, but we shouldn't, like, that we got some type of static when it comes to our opinions. Everyone wants to know this, we know that. We should just get over that and just work together. And as far as the business, if it's our continent, it's our people, we should be able to wear whatever we want to wear or whatever type of hairstyle, whatever. Is that's our country. Like you don't see us imposing these things in Europe. We don't go to other countries doing this or regulating their laws and rules, you know? So as far as that, we just gotta be more stern with outsiders and we gotta be more firm in connection with each other. That's it. That's all I wanna say.
Thank you so much, Vicky. So I've looked in the comment section. Let me see. Another point that we can talk on while I search. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if this is your first time coming here. Always click the bell. That's very important because that's the only way you can you'll be notified when I upload new videos or come on live. So I like what this person has said here. The comment I've posted on the screen. I think we need to make a commitment and be determined to keep through, not just having conversations, but all the things that we discuss often on YouTube is so that we can translate them into tangible actions in our own ways. Because change starts gradually. It's not a one-off process. It's a process rather. It's not a one-off thing. So it starts with me, it starts with you, and then it becomes a snowballing thing that impacts other persons as well. So let's start with commitment to having and just pushing forward an African mentality, a Pan-African rather, not just an I'm a Nigerian, so I have to everything I do Nigerian or Ghanaian, because these people do not perceive us as such. They see us as Africans. They do not know who is Ghanaian or African or Nigerian or Kenyan, Ugandan, and all of that. So that's what we need to have the mindset, and then push that mindset, inculcate that mindset in our children, and to embrace who we are. Like something that somebody said earlier, that loving ourselves truly for who we are as Africans, and that way we can embrace Africa and cause the changes that we are talking about here. Because if I don't love myself, if I don't love being African or Africa, I'm not going to put in the work to make Africa better. I won't. Even if I have opportunities to serve in public offices, I might just do that out of selfish interest, out of what I can get from the system at that time, which is what majority of our leaders do. But if we love the continent, if we love being African and have that Pan-African mentality, even when we have the opportunities to serve in public offices, everything we do, I was reading something today and I came across what someone said about our founding fathers, how they had a Pan-African mindset towards the things they did. So a lot of African countries, when they got independence, their foreign policies were Pan-African in nature. Nigeria, for instance, had a post-colonial Pan-African policy that was to put Africa first. That was why Nigeria fought hard alongside South Africa in the time of apartheid to make sure that the whites gave up that rule. The contributions that Nigeria made to the apartheid, to the anti-apartheid forces that were fighting us at then. We talk about the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who, in fact, his whole fight, he came back from Europe, from America rather, and put in the work to make sure that Africa was liberated from colonial rule. And one of the speeches, he said that on the day that Ghana got independence, he said that Ghana cannot claim to be a free African nation until the entire Africa is free. That was what he said. That is the kind of Pan-African mentality and mindset we need to have. And he put in the work. He didn't just say it, he backed it up with actions. He supported other African countries in their fight to be free from colonial rule. And that was what eventually we saw happen across Africa. So that's what we need to embrace. We are not saying that we should probably go back to some sort of barbaric practices that are harmful to us, but embracing those past colonial and past mindsets of our founding fathers that meant to push for the progress and the development of Africa. That's what we are talking about. And as much as we learn new things from other parts of the world, we should learn the things that are going to advance Africa and not things that will bring destruction to us as Africans. So that's my contribution to that. Anybody wants to say anything? Okay, you have the floor.
What I wanted to say is that I feel like we have something called tribalism, where some countries, like for example Nigeria, oh, you have Hausan, you have I don't know other tribes, and then they fight against each other. They fight against each other to see which one is the best, and we need to stop that. And we really need to stop that. Like where I come from, like Congo and Angola, we have that a lot, and we need to stop that. And also, one thing I wanted to say is that black men, you guys need to start supporting us. I know, especially here in the UK, I see some black men, like sometimes you get disrespected and they don't say nothing. They start laughing with other people, other races that are disrespecting you. And that's not good as well. And one thing I also wanted to say, our leaders, they don't care for us. And we need to stand up as a citizen of Africa, people, our leaders, especially the Congolese leaders, like, because I'm just sorry, I'm saying for Congo people because I'm from Congo and Angola, and they don't care. The only thing they care about is the money, and sometimes that's really bad. We need to stand up as people to fight, to say enough is enough, and that's all I wanted to say, and that's it.
Yeah, if you could all
Thank
hear
you,
me,
so much,
if
Ines. I appreciate that contribution. I just quickly got up to fix the light situation, so I'm back.
yeah,
All right, so thank you.
uh,
You know how it is, Nigeria.
virtue,
There's actually power, but then my camera, my laptop camera quality is poor. It's not as bright, so I have to uh, complement the lights from the power source with another light so that it can be brighter. And also, yeah, thank you for those contributions that you made. Let me see. I would say, okay. If anybody on the panel wants to say something, let me just raise your hand. Let me see.
yeah.
Raise your hand. Let me see. Okay. George, you have the
Yeah,
floor. You can speak.
I just wanted to thank everyone. You all have been absolutely um, factual, well informed, and informing all of us. I tend to believe, like Patrice Lumumba, in the former, I believe it was the Congo, who believed and had principles for which he was willing to live and also willing to die. I think that every human being, not just Africans, but every human being, but you know what? I'm speaking to my brethren. So to you, my fellow Africans, let's all have a sense of what is it that I'm willing to live for, and if it takes dying, die for. So, because until we have a commitment of heart to say, you know what, for XYZ, I'm willing to leave this world. I'm willing to live and believe in this and pursue it until we have a firm spine for one or two or three things that we really do affirm and willing to live and die for. Progress is limited. That's why I'm not so much a history buff, because I look at history every day I look at history through the lens of the moment and I see what needs to be seen. I read a lot, but I'm not really hinged on history. unless history can make the now better. So I urge every one of us as we hear these things to ask ourselves, what am I willing to put my life on the line for? Am I willing to go the distance in making a change, even if it means I go it alone? A lot of folks who've really influenced history, my friends, have had no one with them when they started their journeys. They've done it by themselves. Have your motivation and really have that go through the ringer. Ask yourselves the hard questions. And when you're able to answer that question and stand saying, you know what, for this, I'm willing to go all the way, then start asking and praying that Adonai Elohim, that he sends someone who sees it the way you do. Because we all need someone to go with us. And that goes to the issue of the dear sister, lady who lives in the UK, who just said sometimes our own people make fun of us, meaning the men over there, making fun of the Black women. Black women are strong women, folks. Reminds me of my own mom, my mother. Strong, who owned a business, restaurant, was also a musician, a drummer, to be precise, and a dancer, and a good mom. So we need to begin to look at our women, Black women. Men, look at your Black women and appreciate them and build them up because they'll be there for you. And when you have a strong woman, you have a strong man. Women almost always are very intuitive and wise. Don't take a Black woman for granted, folks. Men, I speak to you. Love and cherish them. What you do for your woman, you do for yourself. The Black men being killed here in America, I pray that they all begin to realize that with some embracing of the woman's wise counsel, some of those things probably will not even happen. We need to listen to women because they are, in fact, the ones who really breathe life and give us all some sense of belonging. And you need someone standing with you. They should not ever be played with nor disrespected. And having said so, I urge you all again, ask yourself, what am I willing to die for? What am I willing to put my life on the line for? When you find it, pursue it with all your vigor. We don't have forever here. We don't. We talk about people like Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, others who've passed on before. They aren't to speak for themselves anymore, but it's what they did. Their legacy is what virtue refers to. It's what you all are referring to. When we leave, what legacy are we leaving behind? Questions of this sort changes your world. And when your world is changed from the inside, you could change it from the outside. So have something for which you're willing to live or die for. And let it be something good, not just for yourself, but for the collective. Thank you, folks.
Oh Lord. Thank you so much, Josh, for that contribution. And a lot of people here. So Chibweze, Dalu, you're welcome, Chibweze. No, you have the floor. Yeah, so Chibweze, Dalu, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the floor, and thank you everyone in the house. Hello, and my contribution is really after loving ourselves, after embracing each other, and removing the colonial barriers that has been set out for us physically as borders and the flags that we carry around us, countries to represent ourselves. We also need to remove the colonial barriers in our minds, and that is from the education system. And what I mean by the education system is, as a Nigerian, growing up, I realized that we learn more about Europe than Nigeria. From different classes, you name it, from art classes, from music classes, and this is from primary school and secondary schools, which are like the compulsory schools. So from childhood, we have accumulated this Eurocentric views of life, of the world. So from this Eurocentric worldview, we tend to embrace Europeans or Europeans' ideas more than our own ideas. That's why I think the education system is one of the places we need to attack. I worked 9 months. I'm making this call from Switzerland, and I got to Switzerland 2 years ago, and I decided to do voluntary work. And I saw a lot of Africans as refugees or poor people. In this voluntary work, I was giving people free haircuts every Mondays for 9 months. And the question I asked these people, why are you in Europe, especially Switzerland, that claims not to be part of the European countries? And most of these Africans, especially sub-Saharan Africans, they crossed through the Mediterranean. And I documented a lot of their stories. So what I'm trying to say here is that they thought, this is the most common sentence they made. Oh, I thought Europe was, was great. I thought I could come here and work and make money. And they were all shocked. And most of them, they always end their conversation with this. If I had known, I would not have embarked on that journey. And it's the education, because people, now, especially social media is not even helping, because people just see these fancy pictures and say, wow, this is Europe. And from the beginning, as from primary and secondary school, the education had failed us, telling us, about Paris, this love and fantasy city, that is stuck in our mind. We watch all of these great things and we are dreaming about Europe and dreaming about in the Western world in general. So, and many of our people who did not have the opportunity to get educated by their parents to tell them the truth, they end up, when our politicians had failed, they want to go to this Europe, the land of milk and honey, if you may say that. And the education system, especially from home, because when we talk about the education system now, as in schools, we're getting a bit political, and the politicians don't like that because most of them are puppets. So, but at home, parents need to take the responsibility to educate their children about worldview. I'm grateful for the type of dad I had, who had a different type of worldview to show me, okay, whatever you do, wherever you go, it's about hard work. There is no free lunch in Freetown. And with such perspective, I always knew life is about hard work. So I think the education system as well, especially from home, parents need to learn, decolonize themselves so they can pass it on to the children, because we cannot give our children what we don't have. It's impossible. If we don't have it, we cannot give. So as from young adults and those who are already advanced, our elders, as we come online, some people don't have the opportunity online. That's why sometimes I meet some of those migrants and I speak to them. I try to ask them, what will be one thing that if it's changed, you will go back to whichever African country you came from? Because as I'm speaking to you right now, if it's something that I could travel just to the nearby city to me, I will show you Africans who are homeless in Switzerland, where it's supposed to be utopia, right? They sleep on the street, they sleep in the bushes, and many of them are university graduates from Africa. I'm not saying the poor people. Many of them spend the estimate of at least $2,000 to embark in the journey to cross the Mediterranean. So you now see that the worldview that they have was very poor. And that's why they can give up such well, I would say privilege that they had back home to go to the land of, milk and honey. So I think we should also look into the education system, especially at home. We need to read and read. I started this journey of decolonizing myself about 5 years ago by reading books, listening, and engaging with programs like this one. And I learned a lot. And from there, I try to share to people who are not very into reading and seminars or listening to audios or going on platforms like this. So I would urge anyone, I always say it, we have to share, with one another, show love, support each other's businesses, but we cannot keep all of this consistent if we are not well educated. And the reason I say that is this. Now, if I'm educated to believe that the white man or white women are more beautiful than women of African descent, if that is stuck to my brain, how will I change my mind to end up marrying a woman of African descent? Because in my mind, I've been colonized, I've been programmed. If I've been colonized to think that, all the angels, God, all of them are white skin, every time I see my fellow, brother or sister, I would not want to be with them because the white people are the God. The white people are the inventors. I've been brainwashed. The white people are the better musicians. The white people are the better artists. Even historically, they took this from our ancestors, but that's just long story. But it's about when I decolonize myself, it's me also teaching it to my children. And that is how we can keep on loving each other. We make very good shoes in Nigeria, like the Abba shoes, but people would rather buy used shoe. We call it Akube or Bend Down Select or whatever in Nigeria. People would rather go and buy this used shoe from, used by Europeans, buy it in the market and say it's better than new made in Aba or new made in Lagos. This is colonial mentality. So how can I give my money to my brother if I don't decolonize myself? And how can my children follow the same step if I don't teach them? How can I say, okay, I want to wear Ankara, I want to wear Agbada, I want to wear Danshiki, I want to wear the traditional beads. If they've told me that suit and tie is what makes you a smart person, what makes you look like a gentleman is your suit and tie. So anyway, to give time to other people to speak, the whole thing I'm trying to say is that as we are decolonizing ourselves, we should not fail the younger ones, even those who are older around us that are not into this self-decolonization process. We should not fail to also pass on the message to them. That is the type of education I'm saying, so that this can be sustainable. So that's my contribution, and thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the
I
floor, and
truly
thank
appreciate
you
your
everyone in the
contribution.
house. Hello,
I got really
and
emotional at some point while you were talking, and tears almost dropped on my eyes. When you were talking about the sorry plight of African migrants in Europe, I felt so bad because you see, Africans, we believe in we have this principle of family, of community. So there is just no way I, Grace, for instance, would be homeless in Africa. It's not possible. I have people both on my mother's side, on my father's side, no matter how distant they are, that when the chips are down, I can trace them, and go live with them, and that will be. I'm sorry about that. I have to start rounding up. My data is going. So when I first moved to Lagos, I moved to Lagos. Actually, I have two friends in Lagos, and so I was staying with them interchangeably. I would stay with one for a period of time, then go stay with the other one until I was able to find my footing in Lagos. And by that I mean getting a good job that could afford me an apartment of my own and all of that. I recently just moved into this apartment. I'm still like fixing it and all of that. So, but these friends I'm referring to are friends that we grew up together. We went to the same elementary school, the same secondary school, and then we've grown to become more like sisters. I see them like my sisters, and they opened their arms to me. They welcomed me in, and gave me the accommodation and all the support I needed to find my footing in Lagos. And that's the kind of mindset and mentality that we all need to have. That sense of community, that sense of support for one another. When we find the other person struggling, let's support the person, to be able to rise and find their footing. And this increasing sense of modernization, you say, no, I don't want people, I don't do this. That's a European mindset. We don't need it. Our sense of community is authentically African. That's what we should work to push, we should work to embrace. So that's pretty much it. My data is running out, and I can't believe I've done 2 hours 34 minutes on this show already. And let me confess to you, fam, this is the most profound conversation I've had in a very long time. Like, this live stream today has blown my mind. I love the conversations and the various contributions that we've brought to the table. And I honestly hope that a lot of people will be able to rewatch this live stream and take out the salient messages that we've all passed across in today's stream. Honestly, please share it wide. I would really love for this message to go out wide, not just for only us here. I'm going to also do my best to still share it and emphasize so that people can come back to watch, because the message is important for people to take. So just before I round up, we are going to take turns to give our final words in 2 minutes, please. So we are starting with George. George, you have the
Okay.
floor.
I see you got me. Okay. Folks, I learned from all of you. Thank you. Let's go execute. Let's love. Let's love. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, George. And Tidus Butley, let's have you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, let's excel in success. Just work together. We try to ignore what we've been taught, and we already identified the problems. So let's just revolve into something new. And just it takes every individual, and since we know that as well, we identified that. Just keep spreading the word, and always pick up your brother and sister. And that's all I want to say.
All right.
Everyone stay positive.
All right.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. See you again in my next stream. Right. Next is Ines.
Is that we need to understand that no one will clean our houses better than us. So we need to clean our house. Because the Western world will never come to Africa and clean it the way they're supposed to clean. We as African, as Black, as Negroes, as Moors, we need to start cleaning our house. That's my message for today.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm eating granuts. I was eating it before I started the stream, so since I'm almost out, I thought to continue. Okay, now let's have you, the Diaspora channel.
Okay, thanks, Grace. Yeah, and I'm so grateful to be part of the discussion tonight, and I learned a lot as well. So, we know we have loads of plans, and I'm a person of action. And Titus is very, very used to, what I do on my platform. Is all about how we can keep our money within the Black community. So that's number one thing, and that's what I shout loud here in the UK as well. Reach out to, you know, all Black-owned businesses out there so that they can have the exposure. People will know who is doing all within the community, because we have a lot. We understand, like Tidal said, the other sister said, and the brother as well. We know what is happening already. And we are not here complaining as, you know, victims, or just keep talking, you know, continuously. But it's time for us to act, and it's now. So we know that personally, and I think it might be the case of lots of people on the platform, I'm not waiting for our, you know, government officials to do much, because it's like they signed their own contracts already on how to, you know, what to do when it comes to their people. I'm counting on myself, what I can do, what you can do, for us to bring the change needed on the continent. So I live in London here. When I'm saying, you know, we have to be free and embrace who we are, and encourage our brothers and sisters on the continent to, you know, to be comfortable wearing what they want to wear. It's not like, you know, I don't wear any other thing apart from, you know, my African clothing. No, I do wear other things. But if we want people to buy, if I'm selling something or I have something good, I want the next person to buy and bring money for me. If I don't put it out there, guess what? No one will even know that exists. So we have to know the importance of rebranding. And if we go back to our TESOL, I don't know about the, you know, the people, other people, but in my country, they have to close so many of those people that produce clothes like this. So we have to understand the importance of putting our industry, every area, you know, we have to put those things first and support our own, in order to have money to support causes that affect us as Black people. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Chibeze. Chibeze, where are you? Okay, Chibeze, your final words. 2 minutes.
Okay, I thought you muted my microphone. So what I have to say is very simple. My last message is that as we embark on the journey of educating ourselves and our children, we should not forget to patronize our brothers and sisters in their businesses, and also hire them, you know, those that are into professional services like lawyers and doctors. We should not forget to do that. We cannot liberate ourselves on empty stomach. Okay? We cannot liberate ourselves on empty stomachs. Let's go out there and patronize our own people. And if anybody, maybe the people who did not get the opportunity to speak, if you don't know where to find businesses that are owned by people of African descent, we run a program where we share these informations, you know, in communities. So in case you are a Black business owner, you can check out our website, www.cobano.org. There we advertise Black-owned businesses 100% free, as long as your business is Black-owned. That's one of the things I started back in October last year to help progress our people. It's time for action, it's time for education, and it's time for love, it's time for support. It's time that we stand on our feet, no more begging for acceptance. We do our own thing. And anybody, like Chino Achebe said, if you don't like someone's stories, go and write your own. So we need to tell our own stories, do our own thing. Anybody who wants to tag along, you're welcome. But if you don't want to be part of it, if you don't like it, move on, just move on. You know, that's my last word. So the website again is www.kobanu, which is KOBANU.org. So it's a new website. And if you want to share your personal story, it's all about African stories, our story by ourselves. So that's my final message. And thank you, Grace. Thank you, everyone that participated and everybody who's watching. I appreciate this, and love to all of my brothers and sisters out there. Remember, we should love ourselves. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chibeze. Please, the website, what you're going to do for me is when the stream is over, write a comment in the comment section, drop the website so that I can pin it to this stream, so that anybody who comes back to watch the video will see the website and go there to go this thing to go and contact you. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you. I love this conversation. I've enjoyed it so much. I wish I didn't have to go, but I have to. We might have to continue this conversation next week or in the course of the week if need be. So keep your fingers crossed as usual, and let's do this. Share, just do all the good things that you always do. I dropped a video earlier today. If you've not watched it after the stream, you can go check it out. And I said my sister, the Diaspora channel, is also a creator. So after this stream, please go to her channel as well and support her. And let's support. You're talking about supporting our, one another. So let's start from now. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.